Hello, Simplifiers. I thought I would do a quick post-surgery check-in. Yesterday was Monday, that was surgery day. Today is Tuesday, day after. They have me so hopped up on steroids that I am not able to rest. Of course, when I woke up from surgery, I thought, oh, good, because I was exhausted. You know how you are after surgery. You're just like, I felt like if there was 1,000 pounds sitting on me, I was such a heavy, dead weight. Oh, by the way, look at this. Sunshine just popped up in my lap. Anyway, well, I was going to try to sit where my head was blocking that light. Anyway, this is my bad side. You can see, I don't think you can see any swelling. Do y'all see anything? There's no bruising, no swelling that I can feel. This is still, yesterday I could actually breathe through here. I mean, the minute I woke up, I was like, oh, thank goodness I can breathe. Now it's stopped up again, but I'm sure that's inflammation from whatever he had to do yesterday. So I'm not stressed about that at all. But they have me, so they have you skip your antibiotic. You have antibiotics previous and after, up to and after the surgery. You skip surgery day. You also skip surgery day with the steroids. So I went in there and they gave me a drip of ciprofloxacin, which is a IV antibiotic. So that's why you skip. So I got to thinking, I didn't ask them, but I got to thinking later, my sister works at a surgery center. So I said, because I was so wired. I mean, I felt like I'd had energy drinks. I don't drink those, so I wouldn't know what that would feel like, but just felt like I had tons of caffeine. I could not calm down. I just wanted to come home and go to bed. I felt groggy or not super groggy, but sleepy all the way home. I was like, thank goodness, I'm just going to go home and go to bed. No. As soon as I got home and got settled, just all the grogginess was gone. I wasn't the least bit tired, which sounds great, but you want to rest your body because you've had a surgery. So I'm very irritated. Even a 2-hour nap would have just helped, but no. I was wired. My face, this side started hurting a little. It wasn't terrible, but it was worse than the usual. And he did give me pain medicine, so I was like, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a pain pill. No big deal. I'd been home about an hour at that point. We got home about 1. We had to stop and get the pain medicine. That was the ridiculous. These state laws and federal law, they're just, everyone is punished but the drug abusers, everyone. You shouldn't have to stop on your way home from a surgery. Thankfully it was ready. He called it in early. But I wanted Lortab and he gave me Percocet, which if I'd realized he was calling it in so early, he called it in before I got there, or maybe as soon as he got there, I think he called it in or had them call it in. Very organized, which is great, but I wanted Lortab. Anyway, it's hydrocodone, which I think most people like Percocet better. I don't. So it worked. So it's fine. The pain's not bad enough to care. But anyway, he had called it in so early that it was ready. I was like, well, at least maybe it'll be ready. So I checked my text as we were leaving. I was very lucid. I think I told y'all I don't like Versed. I do not want to take it. Versed makes you forget everything. And so I actually remember everything. I don't remember they willed me, if you don't take Versed, you go into the operating room awake. If they give you Versed, they give it to you prior to going in, so you don't remember any of that. But I enjoyed getting to talk to them. I wasn't in there probably 5 minutes or less before I was sound asleep, but I enjoyed talking to them leading up. Also, I thought you were just laid out here like this. They had me, so I already had 2 blankets on. I was so cold. The IV in my arm was making me, I don't know if it was the Cipro, I don't know what it was, but my arm was like, just my arm, but it was making me cold everywhere. But I was like, I feel like you could hang meat in here. I said to Spencer, I was like, are you cold? Because they prepped me, then they let him go back and talk to me. He was back there for probably 45 minutes and he had his coat on. He had his heavy coat on. He said, yeah, I've got my coat on. I'm like, man, my arm is just, they had 2, they give you warm blankets, so that she had given me the second warm blanket. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just can't. My arm is so cold. But that has something to do with the IV. Not really. I don't think that's the fluids. I think that's, I don't know. Maybe it's the Cipro. I don't know. So that was a bit uncomfortable. She did a great job. Usually the IV, you can see right there, The IV right here, this is usually the worst thing about surgery when they put the IV here. I like it here. My sister said you can request it, but I think it's better for the doctor if it's on your hand. She did the best job. These were the best nurses I've ever been around. I'm just going to be honest. This was not my sister's surgery center. My sister, I don't think, is supposed to be with us because we're family members. And so when my husband went, I mean, they were okay, but this was stood far above. I've been to that surgery center and my husband both. And this, my opinion, this place stood heads above hers. And hers is good. There's nothing wrong with hers, but I felt like the nurses were a lot better, a lot more attuned to what I needed and wanted. So anyway, that nurse, that's the first time it's never hurt. Now there is a bruise there, and yesterday it was kind of a knot and a bruise, but I did not feel, and that could have been more from the medicine going on, I'm not sure. I never felt pain from that, but usually this is horrible pain. So I told her immediately, I was like, you are so good at this. Every time I've ever had that, it's been horrible. And I mean, it doesn't just hurt going in, it hurts for however many hours you're sitting there. It's like 2 hours a lot of times you sit there. So that was great. Now I noticed I had a bruise when I got home, but it could have just been the way it was sitting, or they had me wrapped up in blankets. It may have been, they had me wrapped up like a taco. When they took me into the OR, they wrapped me with another blanket. I was so happy. And it was a hot blanket too, because I was freezing. It was crazy. And I knew it would be cold because I think they keep ORs really cold. So I knew it'd be colder in there. So when she brought me that hot blanket, I was like, oh, praise God. And she wrapped that thing around. And I don't know why. I just thought you were all just flailed out like this. But I think they need your arms down so you won't be touching the doctor and messing around with anything, because who knows what you're doing, even though you're asleep, you don't know what you're doing. So I'm guessing they had me wrapped up like that the entire time. I really don't know. She put some monitors, the stick-on monitors down here, and my blood pressure was sky high. Not even kidding. My normal blood pressure is 90/60. My blood pressure was, when they took me back, it was 153/93. But I could tell I was anxious. So you have the pre-op nurse, you have the OR nurse, and you have the recovery nurse. And my sister doesn't do pre-op. She does, she doesn't do OR. She does pre-op or post-op. So she doesn't do those both in one day, but she could be pre-op or she could be post-op. But she doesn't do OR. So I know, what all the nurses are and what they're doing, or basics. So anyway, the recovery nurse looked up at my monitor when I was back there waking up, and I just waked up, and she said, well, that can't be right. And I said, what's not right? She said, your blood pressure. And I said, well, what is it? And she said, it was higher. It was like 156/103. And I said, oh no, that's right. I was very, very, I said, that's what it was. It was high when I got here. I'm very anxious. I think they could have shot me up with some anxiety meds, if I'm being honest. I mean, I didn't ask for anything like that, but 150/103. Yeah, no wonder she didn't think it was right. Another funny thing that happened, so I called, they asked me over the phone a lot of questions, and so they had me written down at 140 pounds. I don't know, I think I maybe told them 104. And so the nurse was about my size, and she goes, what is your weight? They have you down at 140. And I said, no, I think I told them 104. So I hope they didn't give me steroids for a 140-pound woman, because that would explain a lot. Because, I mean, I am super wired, having a very hard time just calming myself down to even just, I'm making myself sit and rest, because obviously you need to rest after surgery. I know I'm not going in order. Anyway, I was in the OR. She wrapped me up like that taco, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I don't know why, but I just thought you were flailed out here like, Another thing, if you like to wear your clothes, I had actually forgotten this, but I always wear cotton underwear. And she said, this is pre-op. She said, take everything off, put this gown on. She goes, and she whispered. She didn't want anybody to hear anything she was saying. She whispered no matter what it was. She was whispering. I was just like, man, this woman, she wasn't talking normal voices, because, you're in these little cubbies right next to people. And she said, do you by any chance have cotton underwear on? If so, you can keep it. I said, oh yeah, it's cotton. She goes, oh, it is? It is? Okay, well, you can keep it. And I was like, good, because I just feel like we're all just laid out here. Well, it wasn't like that. I was wrapped up in all these blankets. I mean, 3 blankets. The third blanket went on when I went in there. And they had me wrapped like this. And they told me everything since I was still awake. They told me what they were doing. They put the mask over and they said, we're going to give you some oxygen. And that also is when they're putting you to sleep. But, well, the oxygen and they're shooting stuff in your IV. The only bad thing I'd say about not having the Versed, the medicine as they're shooting it in, it's very cold and stinging. Would I want Versed? No, because I can actually remember and tell you what happened. The surgeries I've had where I have had Versed didn't know anything. Now, I'll tell you, my sister blamed it on the Versed that I woke up crying. I woke up crying anyway, so it's not the Versed. But I'm never going to tell them because I don't want it. Because this was so fascinating to me, and it wasn't, the burning was, it was painful, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh. She said, it's going to be 30 seconds. I was like, it's fine. Yes, it burned. Yes, it was cold. It was fine. But so there were 3 different shots of things that were burning. And right before the third time, when she didn't tell me the other 2 were going to burn. Maybe she didn't know, but they did too. But I didn't say anything. It's fine. Right before the third one, she said, all right, this is the one we're going to put you to sleep. This is going to burn. It's going to be about 30 seconds. And so I had the mask on, and the anesthesiologist is standing here, and she's the nurse anesthetist. They both know my sister because they work with her. And the anesthesiologist said, oh, are you Dawn's sister? He's like, you look just like her, which everybody says this. We don't think we look alike, or I think maybe Dawn thinks we do, but I don't think we look alike, but everyone else thinks we do. Especially medical people, they all think we look alike. And Susie was the nurse anesthetist. She already knew that she was going to be with me. Dawn had checked. And then Dr. Fields was over here, and I had the mask on. I go, night, night. And I mean, it was like the third, like she said, probably 20 seconds of burning. And then I said, night, night. And I could feel it was like closing in. So anyway, that's pretty cool. So to not have the Versed is pretty cool. I will say I had pelvic surgery. This is why I thought you were just out here like this. Because during pelvic, you had to be to some degree, but obviously to work in your pelvic area. When I had that surgery, I must not have, I don't know if Versed was not a thing then or they gave it later, but it might have come later. They wheeled me into the OR, and there were so many freaking people in there. I was so freaked out. I was like, why are there 30 people in here? Now that was actually done at the hospital instead of a surgery center. I opted for that in case I need to stay over. It ended up I did need to stay over, so that was actually a great idea. I think he gave me a choice, and I opted to stay because we didn't know. We were looking for cancer. We didn't know if I had cancer, it was going to be a major surgery. I think maybe he didn't give me the choice. Maybe he said I had to. I can't remember. But anyway, I don't know if it's because of the hospital or what, but I mean, there were like 20 or 30 people milling around in there. I was so freaked out. I was still awake. So at that point, I would have been okay with some Versed and been out of it, because who wants to think there's like 30 people in there looking at you? But with this, there was a lady over there. I don't know who she was. That nurse anesthetist was here. Dr. Fields, the anesthesiologist, was here. The OR nurse had introduced herself. I even remember her name. Her name was Kelsey. I remember everybody's name. It's great. I wouldn't remember any of this. Kelsey was very cute. And then I was asleep by the time my doctor came in, but I'd already talked to him. So he talked to me right before. Y'all, he's so sweet. So sweet. His sister, that scheduler, they can't be, I don't see how they're related. It's bizarre to me. He's just so laid back and so nice. And he even said, I didn't get the idea, the nurse, she was very good, but I didn't get the idea she wanted to take me to the bathroom because she wanted me to go as soon as I walked in. And I mean, I was back there for quite a while. They took me back late. I was back there for, I feel like, over an hour waiting to actually go. I think it was more like an hour and a half. Let's see. I was supposed to start at 9:15. They started on me about 10:10, I think. So, I mean, everything was running very late. I went back I think they finally called me back about 8:35. Yeah. So I was back there an hour and a half, which is typical. That's typical. At least an hour and a half, you'll be back there. So hour and a half of not using the bathroom, and they're giving me fluids, and I drank a ton of water the day before. So I'd had lots of water because I wanted to be hydrated. And so I was needing to use the bathroom. So anyway, I wasn't having a terrible, I was okay. But she had kind of been like, well, I mean, as soon as we go back here, I'm going to put you in the bed. And I was kind of like, you can't walk me to the bathroom anyway. sometimes I'm real outspoken and sometimes I'm just like, whatever. So anyway, right before he walked out, he said, oh, do you need to use the restroom before we do this? And I was like, I said, yes, I really would like to. Which I'm sure he doesn't want me peeing during the surgery, right? That would be a mess. So, I mean, I was covered in blankets. Who wants to clean that mess up? So anyway, he went and got her and she dutifully took me. And it was no big deal. She just had to walk me down there I had the 2 fluids. She had them in her hand. I was like, I should have already told her, but I am glad I went. I wasn't having an emergency. I'm glad that he asked me and I went right then. So I was kind of glad I didn't go 30 minutes before because I didn't know how long we were going to be sitting there. We've been in there. I swear I think Spencer was back there with me 45 minutes. So then right before they took me, they sent him back out. He kissed me real quick and then they took me and the anesthesiologist, the OR nurse, and the nurse anesthetist all walk you down. So you're with 3 people. It's like what they show in the halls of these hospital shows. So 3 people. It was kind of weird. Like they're all escorting you down. But anyway, that was kind of weird. And then I went back to a different room for a different it's like cubicles for recovery. I woke up like I don't remember anything past good night and everything closing in. Don't remember anything else. Don't remember being wheeled back into recovery. Don't remember any of that. They said I woke up giggling, which I was like, well, one thing I asked him, I was able to ask them this before they put the mask on. I said, now, am I going to say crazy stuff in here? And she said, generally, even if you have Versed, you don't say anything crazy, but the Versed makes you more talkative, but because you didn't have it, you won't. And I'm like, a whole nother reason not to take it. So they had me down as an allergy to it now, because if you say you can't take something, that becomes an allergy, even if you haven't really had a terrible reaction. So I had not had an actual, what I would call allergic reaction. We just thought it made me cry, made me feel weird. Turns out that's not the drug, but I don't care. I'm going to let them continue to think it was the Versed, and I'm going to move on with my life because I don't want it anymore. Because I don't want to be in there spouting off crazy stuff. So waking up giggling, I thought that was funny because that's me. I mean, I'm always laughing about stuff. Everything's very funny to me. So I'm sure that's pretty normal for me to be laughing. So I thought that was funny. So then when I woke up in recovery, Spencer was right here with me. He had a Sprite. I don't think he had a drink. I said, can I have a Sprite? They went and got me a Sprite. Y'all, I sucked that. It was a styrofoam cup with a straw. I sucked it down. And I said, you're going to tell them I need some more of that. I was so parched. But you know, the steroids make you thirsty. If you've ever I've had pets on steroids, and if they're on very high doses, they will drink and drink and drink, and they will pee. Like my dog peed in my house, and he was fully trained, but he didn't get me up. It was the middle of the night. He went all over the floor. Huge, because he had been drinking so much because of the steroids. So they make you very thirsty. And then, of course, you can't drink. By the way, I took my pill. I was going to tell them, I took the tiniest sip of water and I was like, I'm not going to be lectured about taking this acid reflux med. I've done it every time. You're not going to aspirate over like one. I read something where it's like you could, just try to limit it to 3 milliliters. I don't even think it was that much. It was probably 1.5 milliliters. And I took it about 5:30 in the morning. So that was another thing. Spencer woke me up, but he didn't mean to, but he kind of made a little bit of noise getting up, and he had to go check something with the pipes so they wouldn't freeze. And that woke me up at 5, and I was irritated because I didn't have to get up till 5:45. And of course, haven't been sleeping that great because the steroids, and then didn't sleep great last night. I might have gotten 5 hours of sleep last night. I mean, it's just, the steroids are very annoying. I know they're important. I know it needs to be done. I know it's to help with the inflammation. I get it. So annoying not to just be able to come home and go to freaking bed. You've had a rough day. At 10 o'clock last night, I was super wired, and I was just like, geez. And I'd taken about 10:15, this started hurting again, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna go ahead and take a pain pill right now. And I was like, well, maybe that'll calm me down. No. So anyway, recovery went fine. Everything went fine. I asked him, I think I told y'all, because I clean houses, you cannot talk to a surgeon about cleaning houses. They don't know what that means. These people are so, no offense to anyone who's a doctor, they're very wealthy. Some of them might clean their own houses, but I don't think the surgeons are, their wives are cleaning it. The surgeons are not cleaning a house. They don't know that it's cardio all day. It's a 5-hour job. sometimes longer, and it's cardio all day, and it's scrubbing, and it's vacuuming, and it's mopping, and it's wiping. It's all day constant. I sit down for 30 minutes and eat. I go right back to it. That's cardio, and it's lifting because you're holding a vacuum. So I said to him, I have a very physical job. And of course he stops me, what do you do? I'm like, it doesn't matter. I said, I clean houses. I said, I just need to know when I can do cardio and when I can lift 5 pounds. And he goes, oh, Wednesday. I told y'all, he said, very low downtime. Listen, when I got up this morning, I could have run a 5K, and I do not run. That is how wired I was. It's not as bad right now. It is, I feel like it's wearing off. Maybe I've had gobs of water. Maybe I've been in the bathroom a lot. That was the other thing. Because of the fluids and all the Sprites and I was still using the bathroom from the day before when I had so much to drink. I had drank a lot. From the afternoon on, I had drank a lot, and I was still drinking at 11 o'clock that night. So the night before, because I was like, I cannot stand to be parched. And y'all, I was still parched. It didn't make any difference. But I did notice when they put the fluid drip in, within about 15 minutes, I noticed my mouth wasn't dry anymore. And Spencer said, man, because it's going really slow. And I said, I don't know, but it's working because I just wanted something to drink so bad. So bad. It's torture. It's torture to be told you can't drink something when you're just so thirsty. So anyway, I had drank a lot on purpose. And so I was like, I don't even know. We weren't stopped that long. It was probably like an hour from when we left the surgery center and got all the way home, because we had to stop at Walmart and get the medicine. The shopping, that was out I don't even know what I was thinking. Now by the time I got home, I could have gone shopping, except I was very unstable. The only bad thing, I only have one complaint about this place, and all surgery centers are like this, so it's nothing on them. But if I could have stayed there 15 more minutes, it would have been helpful. I was just laying there, and she's like, okay, time to swing your legs over the side of the bed and get dressed. And I was like, is she freaking serious? I was very woozy, dizzy, unstable. I could tell this from laying there. I didn't have to move. So Spencer was going to try to help me, and he was handing me clothes, and I said, like, I think he handed me my bra first. I said, hand me my pants. Okay. They say to wear comfortable clothes. Word to the wise, it did not occur to me. I would be so unstable. I had on, because it was really cold outside. It was in the 20s when we left home. So it was going to be 50, but it was in the 20s. And I had been cold that whole time I've been there. So I had on leggings under my jeans. That's what I always do. And then I wore, they're kind of like jegging jeans. Okay, on a normal, typical day, I have no trouble getting these jeans on whatsoever. So when they say wear comfortable clothes, if you have something looser, even, because I was like, well, I don't need something looser. It's on my face. The only swelling will be here. And there's none. I don't think there's any swelling. But I was like, well, I don't need comfortable. They were comfortable. Y'all, I did not think, I was glad I had my underwear on already. That was one layer I did not have to put on. And I was thinking, I'm not going anywhere. Do I even care about this stupid bra? But I did end up putting it on, but I was like, then she had the nerve to say to me, I think before I ever even tried to get up, you can walk out or you can use a wheelchair. And I go, well, I'm not going to be walking. Who can walk out? I'm telling you, I was so unstable. She wheeled me. I wanted Spencer to take me to the bathroom, but I guess they have to do it. And then she had him go get the car, which was fine. But I told him, I said, you're going to have to go to the bathroom with me. I can't do this by myself. Well, she wheeled me into the bathroom, wheeled me all the way up to the toilet. She goes, well, you got these bars. I felt like my dad, having to grab on to grab bars. And she goes, there's your pull. You'll pull and I'll come get you. And I was like, I feel like I'm 900 years old. I know how dad feels now, not being able to do things, and needing help. And it was like, good grief, why they let you go when you're this goofy? Now, I was very lucid, and I think that's because I hadn't had Versed. I was very aware of what was going on. I wasn't goofy. I wasn't saying weird stuff. Other than the giggling that had happened prior to Spencer. He didn't hear that, but they just told us. Other than that, there was nothing weird, I don't think. But when I woke up, I was very, very lucid. And I was like, I feel like there's 5,000 pounds sitting on top of me. I'm like a dead weight. I'm so heavy. That was bizarre. But anyway, So she wheeled me in the bathroom, told me all that. And then I was able to get up and hold on to the bars and pull my clothes up. And then I went ahead and pushed the button, which was good because she was fixing to fling that door open anyway. I'm kind of a private it was off in a corner. It would have been fine. And then I had the wherewithal, thankfully, because she had set my Sprite down on a shelf. My wheelchair was sitting here and she was pulling me by, and I grabbed my Sprite because, I mean, I was still parched after all that. They had brought me the second Sprite, and I was like, good grief, this is insane. I don't normally drink that fast. I don't normally drink that much. I don't drink that fast, but I mean, I was sucking that Sprite down like crazy. So anyway, that's pretty much the whole story. They were all lovely. I did not have to pay my deductible twice. Spencer got a little bit snarky at the front desk about, he wasn't real bad, but just like, how long does it take to get a refund? And I said, so I just wanted him to stop. So I said, because I just want everybody to be nice. I said, he's asking this because I'm having to pay my deductible twice because I had to pay my doctor. So we're just wondering how long to get refunded. And she goes, oh, it was really two very sweet black ladies at the front. And she goes, oh, honey, we're not going to make you pay your deductible twice. And thankfully I had a receipt and text from that horrible woman, the scheduler, that horrible lady. I had the text from her. So and I'm so glad it wasn't an email, because my email is on my iPad, not on my phone, because I'm weird. I don't know. It should be on the same, but it's not. So, because I'm bizarre. So I had the text with the amount, and they had a piece of paper with the amount, but they also wanted the quote receipt, but it didn't even really say it was to him, but it was the same amount. So they knew. It was just like it didn't even say, I don't even think it said Dean Klug on it. It was weird. Anyway, within 20 minutes, they had that straightened out. They were going to charge me $1,300. Instead of that, they charged me $300. So my deductible's paid. Some of my co-insurance is also paid because I'd already paid $300 for the CT scan. He took the rest of my deductible. There was no reason why I was going to pay these people $1,300. So anyway, she said, I'm so glad you said something. I was like, girl, no one's gladder than me not to be out $1,000 for 2 months waiting on this business office, because it takes weeks, you know. So anyway, keep that in mind. If you ever feel like you're being forced to pay your deductible, there are ways around it. Pay it twice. I did not know, because once again, at my sister's surgery center, we had not been treated well. When Spencer had hernia surgery, I said his deductible is more meth than this. Well, I've already called them. Nobody talked to us this way at this place, okay? We were not spoken to this way at the surgery center. I love my sister. I'm sure it's great over there. I will never go back there. This place, I'd heard good things. A+, except for pushing me out of recovery, which they do it everywhere. They sent Spencer had a colonoscopy. His blood pressure was something over 40, and they sent him home. And I told my sister, she said, they're all like that. She said, it's ridiculous, but that's the way they all act. I'm like, he's 200 pounds. I couldn't have controlled him from falling if I'd had to. What was I going to do? And he walked out. I don't remember them saying anything about a wheelchair. We walked him out. Me, 100 pounds, him, 200 pounds. Really? I was just so grateful he got to the car, but ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So anyway, they called me this morning to check on me. They called me like at 10 a.m. this morning. How are you doing? They're like the nicest freaking people. Everybody I've talked to there, so nice. Probably the only thing I didn't like besides the recovery was that nurse really didn't seem like she wanted to fool with taking me to the bathroom right before, she was like, well, I'm going to put you in the bed. And I was like, I've gone to the bathroom from the bed before, because you stay back here for 2 freaking hours. I just have gotten to where I just pick my battles, and if I can just skate by and not say anything. But she was lovely. I loved her. She was very funny. They put your little shower cap thing on, or I put it on myself, but she said, here's your party hat. And that's what they call it. I was like that. I was like, y'all are hilarious. They all call it that, I think, because somebody else said it. But I was like, that is the cutest thing, your party hat. It's the little things. But anyway, yeah, I don't really have any complaints about them, except for the recovery time was ridiculous. But I wonder if we were even back there 30 minutes. It didn't feel like long, because I had time to drink that Sprite and ask for more. I felt like I've been there 15 minutes. It was crazy. And then by the time I finally was able to drag my clothes on, I didn't even stand up. I didn't stand up till I was dragging my clothes on, sitting in that bed. And then she came with the wheelchair and they helped me into the wheelchair. I totally groggy, just real it's too much. But yeah, I'm gonna, she said they're gonna send a survey. If they do, I will complain about that. I'm gonna say, I preface this with, I know this is the way they all operate, but 15, even 10 minutes would have been much better. I don't feel like it's safe to be that groggy trying to get up. I was very groggy. I was shaking. I think I already said that. I was shaking, I was dizzy, I was weak, and I was groggy. And that's a lot to have to get up and get on out now. We're gonna bring you this wheelchair. You go move the car, use the bathroom, let's go. It was like, okay. But I know ahead of time that's how they are, so I mean, it's just whatever. But I am going to complain. I'm just going to say, preface this by saying, I know that you all operate this way, but I'm just letting you know, 10 to 15 minutes would have been much better, and I don't think, there was no one in the waiting room. I was the last person to get called back. Spencer said no one else came in. And I wondered about that, because it was like 8:30. I wasn't the last one there, but I think because of the billing thing, it got me pushed. Maybe, I'm not sure. But I actually think the other guy had a different doctor anyway, so that probably is not what got me pushed. But it took them everybody else had gone back but me for like a long time before. I was sitting back there by myself, and I finally went and asked him, because I was like, is everything going okay? Because I'm the only one sitting here. But nobody came in after that, and my surgery was scheduled for 9:15. So I don't believe they were shutting down at noon, and it was like 11:45. They couldn't let me sit there 10 more minutes. Just very weird. And they probably had afternoon stuff scheduled, but I feel like I could have sat there for a few more minutes. Just saying. Anyway, it was a great experience. I do not feel like I've had surgery. My face, I said this is still stopped up. Now it wasn't yesterday. It was great yesterday. I don't feel like I've had surgery. I feel really good. I woke up with, like I said, tons of energy. I actually cleaned up the kitchen. I just like wiped the counters, but my kitchen's pretty cleaned up. I tried to clean everything before surgery, so I'd just be ready to go, so I wouldn't have to do anything. Somebody threw up on one of the throws on the sofa, so I threw that in the washer. Spencer went to work I told him he was planning on leaving about 10:30, and I think about 10, I said, just go, because people kept calling him. There's ice falling off all the buildings and tearing up gutters and tearing up stuff, and he kept getting calls after calls. I said, just go ahead and go to work. It's almost been 24 hours. Chris is our mayor. I said, Chris is babysitting me today. The mayor's office is 2 doors down. I'd asked him, would you be around? Spencer was supposed to have a meeting. This was before all this ice stuff. We didn't realize this was going to be so bad and such a mess. And Chris was like, sure, I'll be 2 doors down. You need anything, let me know. He's already checked in with me today. He's the sweetest person. He's our new mayor. I'm friends with his dad. I'm friends with Chris too, obviously, but I'm good friends with his dad. And so I knew he'd be like, sure, I'll take care of you, whatever you need. So he sent me a funny message. He's like, what'd he say? Are you bleeding like a stuck pig yet? Just checking in. I'm like, no, I have not had any bleeding. It's been great. I can't even tell I've had surgery. I feel very energetic. I feel very good. I'm not bruised. I don't think I look swollen. My nose is stopped up. I'm still hoarse. I think I had a little bit of hoarseness from the breathing tube. The guy even told me about the breathing tube. I don't remember anybody going into this much detail about the breathing tube before. And I told him, this is funny, don't ever say this. I said, I've never had trouble with that before, never had a sore throat. Had a sore throat. Went away quickly. He said it wouldn't last long. It didn't. The doctor told me exactly what he was doing. Oh, I don't think I said this. Several polyps, and he never told me how many, but several polyps and 3 sinuses out of 8. You have 8 sinuses. 3 were clogged. He cleared all of it out. And I go back next Monday, and this is the grossest thing ever. I'll give you time to bump out. They put something up here and they suck all this gunk out. It's disgusting. You can hear it sucking. I didn't see anything, but I can hear it. Spencer went to the appointment with me. He's going to go to this. My dad got a sitter for yesterday. He's going to get a sitter for next Monday. He did okay with the sitter. Thank God. He doesn't want her to do anything, but I don't care. She was there. She was sitting. I don't care. Whatever. He allowed her to come. And I told him, I think I'm going to need Spencer to go to the doctor, but I got to ask him, because I was like, if he's sucking this stuff out, I'm not driving myself. It was crazy last time. You're very nauseated. You have to take nausea medicine. He didn't tell me that this time, but before, he's like, take nausea medicine before you get there. and he gave me some, so I'm ready to go with that. But they gave me nausea medicine. I have not been sick at all, so that was part of the IV process. The anesthesiologist does that. Asked me, did I want a patch? I said, no, I can't have those. They make me crazy. No scopolamine or patch or whatever that's called. No. I've had one before. It made me literally worse than nausea. I would rather throw up than have the patch again. It made me dizzy, crazy, cuckoo. Absolutely no more patches. No patch behind the ear. So I was so glad he asked, because I told Spencer, I said, if he popped that thing on my ear, I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't know it was, because it goes back behind here. You wouldn't know it was back there unless you just happened to scratch or something. I'd have been like, why am I so freaking dizzy and goofy? Oh, I was so glad he asked me and didn't just slap it back there. He said it works better with it. I'm like, no, it's fine. I don't need it. I'll be fine. And I haven't been nauseated at all. That's been great. He's given me like 9 nausea pills. They're dissolvable. Dissolvable. Haven't needed one of those. I take promethazine usually, which is there's Zofran and there's promethazine, and they work differently. I take promethazine every night before bed because of the reflux. And but this is Zofran dissolvable, so you just stick it in your tongue. Works immediately. So he said the sucking out would not be as bad this time as it was last time, and I was like, thank you, Jesus, because it was pretty severe. Not looking forward to the suck out. It's disgusting. But anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here with me on the journey. I hope it interests you to hear about what goes on in the OR, because you've probably never been awake for it. Talk to you next time. Love you. Bye.